Hey guys, it's Becky with Design Bundles, and I'm here today to talk to you about updating the firmware on your Cameo. Now, you may do this right off the bat when you are new to your Cameo, or it may be something that you have to do later on down the road, but either way, it is really good to know how to do this and that it's relatively painless. Now, there are a few troubleshooting tips that we're going to go through also, but basically, just to give you the short story, is that your firmware is the software on your Cameo 4. Okay, now the Cameo 2, Cameo 3, and Cameo 4, they all have firmware, and that is the best way to keep your machine communicating good with your PC. Now, I'll be honest with you, I do not update my firmware often, and you shouldn't have to update it often. But if you're anything like me, maybe you upgraded the software on your computer, and mine alerted me and said, hey, congratulations, good job updating your software, but now you need to update the firmware on your Cameo. So that's what we're going to do today. Let's go ahead and get started. Now, the first thing that you want to do is you need to locate your USB cord. Now, this should have come with your Cameo 4, but sometimes it's really easy to misplace, like I did, and that's okay. Like I said, it's easy to do, it blends in, but if you do misplace it, now I snagged one from an older model Cameo that I had, but you can also use a printer cable. So what you want to do is look at the connection here on the side of your Cameo and match it up to the same type of connection cable. All right, so you need to locate that because you cannot do this Bluetooth, and you want to go ahead and hook that up to your computer. Now you want to jump over to silhouetteamerica.com. So we are going to go to silhouetteamerica.com/firmware. And here we are, our Cameo 4, and I'm on a PC, so it will say click for instructions. Now, these are the instructions, and it will walk you through exactly how to update your firmware. But don't worry, we're going to do it with you. So let's go ahead and jump over, take care of this first step. Obviously, we already have the software downloaded, but if you do not, go ahead and take care of that. And then it tells you to open Silhouette Studio and click over to the Send menu. So in the Send menu, I do have my Cameo 4 connected, and I'm just going to power it on. And then I'm going to click down here and make sure that my Cameo 4 registers. There we go. So you can tell that this is the USB connection by the little symbol over here. And there it tells me firmware update available. So I'm going to go ahead and choose update now. And this is going to walk me through. So it tells me do not switch off my Cameo. Now my Cameo is on. It lights up here. And we're just going to let it do its thing and keep an eye on it and see if it needs anything from us. So it looks like the Silhouette Cameo went through a power cycle, and now it tells me that I can load my media. If I were to choose to switch over to Bluetooth, because Bluetooth was also telling me to update my firmware, now it tells me that it's connecting and I can load the media. So that is literally how easy it is to update your firmware. So if you experience any problems at all updating your firmware, you're going to want to come back to the firmware page on the Silhouette America website. And let's go ahead and talk about a few other things. So the Cameo 4 and the Portrait 3, both of those you can see they say click for instructions. And that will walk you through how to update through Silhouette Studio. You will notice for the Cameo 3 and older machines, there will actually be a download file. And the download file is where you will follow these instructions down here. It'll tell you to save the zip folder, unzip the file, and you're actually going to run the actual firmware update on your computer. And then there will be a few on-screen instructions that you will follow. Now, like I said, with the Cameo 4, we didn't run into any of that, but just in case you do, know that it is there. Now, there's also a FAQ section on firmware updates, and if you experience problems with maybe your update doesn't go successfully, then you're going to want to come here and it will give you some basic troubleshooting options.
For example, it will tell you, I guess there is a known firmware update issue for the Mac, and then there is a firmware update connection issue, and it will walk you through. It tells you to unplug the actual power cord, power everything down, and then walk through once again. Okay, but you can come here and you can read over these for yourself. It says to allow 20 minutes for the updates to take place. I did not experience that. Mine definitely took less than 5 minutes, but just be prepared that updating the firmware may take a little bit longer. I'm sure it depends on your internet and computer connectivity. All right, so, but all the instructions are here, and there's also a few more detailed instructions if you are downloading and updating the firmware using one of those download files, okay? And you can even come down here, and there is a firmware update section for Mac. And it's very similar. It's going to walk you through all the steps. And like I said, that's primarily for if you are updating the firmware on an older machine. Now, you know, those machines are still, I call them diamonds in the rough because, you know, I just feel like some days I wish I could still just cut on my Cameo 1. I love it to death. You know, but there are a lot of features that you gain updating to the Cameo 3s and 4s. So I just go in that to say a lot of people refer to older machines and we get the feeling that, hey, you know, maybe older machines aren't as good. That's not true. So I'm just saying I don't want to make you feel bad by talking about older machines in this video. Just know that there's a little bit of a different process for those, okay?
So I am very happy and pleasantly surprised with how easy it was to update my firmware. Now, like I said, I gave you a few tips and some resources if you are using an older machine, but really for the Cameo 4, it was a piece of cake. Now, I know some of you guys may experience some issues. Like I said, I gave you those resources, but for the most part, it's not something to be afraid of, and I'm really happy that you joined me today. Hopefully we can put some of those fears to rest, okay? Now, make sure you subscribe to the channel because we always have a lot of really great tutorials for you right around the corner. And if you ever have any questions or comments about anything in this video, anything you want to see in an upcoming video, or just something about your cutting machine in general, make sure you leave those in the comment section below. So thanks again, guys, and we will see you next time.